Okay, it is an exciting day at the channel because it is new brand day, and in fact we've got two new brands that haven't featured on the channel before. So today we're taking a look at a new trail running shoe that's actually a collaboration between uber cool running apparel brand Satisfy and Canadian shoe brand Norda Run. Now both companies are known for producing high-end innovative running kit. So the new Satisfy Norda 001 trail shoe retails for, take a deep breath Lloyd, €300. Yep, you heard me correct, a trail running shoe that costs €300. So let's dive into the video and find out if it's worth that hefty price tag. Welcome back folks, I'm Lloyd Purvis and this is Run4Adventure. Thanks for joining us for another first impressions video, and I hope you managed to get out on some running adventures this weekend. It's always exciting when we bring you guys a new brand, one because hopefully we'll bring the attention of a new running brand to you that you haven't come across before, and secondly, I love running in new kit from brands that I've never run in before, especially when they're using lots of new exciting materials and tech in their products. So firstly, if you haven't come across the Satisfy or the Norda Run brand before, then they actually both seem like very like-minded companies because they're both sort of pushing the boundaries of innovation when it comes to tech and manufacturing, using some of the highest quality products available to give the runner that sort of high-end performance and comfort. The Norda Run brand comes out of Montreal, Canada, and it was actually set up by two lifelong endurance athletes with decades of shoe industry experience. At that moment in time, they thought the shoes they were running in just weren't quite good enough for their needs, so the Norda 001 was born. It doesn't stop there for the brand because they're also on a mission when it comes to sustainability within the running industry, and they really want Norda to have the sort of lightest footprint, pun intended, in more ways than one. With Satisfy having a very similar mission statement when it comes to its high-end innovative running apparel, it really did seem like a match made in heaven. So here we are, it is the Satisfy Norda 001 collaboration trail running shoe. We're going to give you a few stats, we're going to break down that construction in a bit more detail, then we're going to be lacing them up and hitting the trails of Cornwall. The first thing I have to say is they have done a great job with the design of this shoe. I really love the way it looks. I love the colorways, the fabrics, the materials used. But if anything, it looks a little bit too good, you know? I want to sit it up on a shelf and look at it. And I'm really interested to see how long it stays looking like this on today's run. It's been pretty wet in Cornwall, so we're bound to find plenty of mud on today's run. Anyway, let's start by giving you a few stats about the shoe. I've already mentioned the price, and if I'm honest, I'm not sure whether I should mention it again, but maybe if I say it quickly, it will sound a bit better. So it retails for €300. Weight-wise, it comes in at 315 grams in a men's UK 10, which I was actually pretty surprised about when I put it on the scales because it feels way lighter than that in my hand and on my feet. So it must be a really well-balanced shoe. Because this is the collaboration model, you've got a few nice little attention to detail. So we get a sort of high-vis peace sign on the heel tab. We've got peace and silence written on the end of the laces. And then we've got a nice high-vis sort of Satisfy label on the tongue. Moving on to the construction, and this is where things get very, very interesting because there is some clever materials and manufacturing used in the production of the Satisfy Norda 001. Firstly, the fabric used is called Dyneema, and this is a bio-based fibre that's actually 15 times stronger than steel of the same weight. It's nice and light and super breathable, but it also is resistant to cuts and abrasion, so it sounds like the perfect type of material for a trail running shoe. When it comes to that upper design, it is quite stripped back, so we've got a very thin gusseted tongue construction. We haven't got a lot of padding around that ankle collar or in the heel, and in fact we've just got two little sort of internal pods on either side of that ankle collar. We've got some structural overlays working from the heel down that upper, around the lace eyelets and the toe box for a bit of sort of extra substance and durability. A good level of protection from a toe bumper that makes me very happy. We've also got some diamond design Norda laces which are made from that same Dyneema fabric, and we got some sort of reflective detailing for safer nighttime running. Now, another part of this shoe that I'm really excited about is this Vibram SLE midsole. And you know, I'm not 100% sure, but I don't know of any other running brand using midsole cushioning that's been developed by the Vibram brand. Obviously, a lot of you will know them for producing top quality sort of trail running rubber outsoles. I've run with lots of shoes with Vibram outsoles and they've never let me down, but I can't wait to test this midsole out. Apparently it is 30% lighter than industry standards for EVA, but it still offers a high level of cushioning whilst remaining sort of responsive and nimble underfoot. Turning the shoe over, you can see we've got more Vibram goodness, so you get a full Vibram Mega Grip light base outsole. Now if you've run with a trail shoe with Vibram Mega Grip on the outsole, you'll know how sticky a rubber it is. It really does perform well. But the light base version is also 30% lighter by making a reduction in the sole thickness by 50%, but they're still not going to compromise when it comes to grip, traction or durability. We've also got that 5mm multi-directional lug pattern, so taking all that into consideration, I am expecting great things from this outsole, and it should perform really well in all weathers and on all terrains. Right, I've definitely waffled on long enough, and I know you guys are sitting there patiently waiting to find out how this €300 trail running shoe is going to perform today. So let's get these beauties on our feet and let's get out there and hit the trails. I'm just going to take one last look at this beautiful, lovely, clean shoe, and it does look good, but let's go and find some mud. Okay, we've arrived at a slightly different location today. So we've come up to a place called Hell's Mouth on the north coast of Cornwall. It looks in that footage like it is a beautiful sunny blue sky day, but there is a bit of a chilly breeze blowing today, and there's actually a very nice cafe here at Hell's Mouth. So very tempting to pop inside, get a nice flat white and a nice bit of cake, but I'm not going to do it. We've come here to run. So the plan today is to get a sort of good 10k in the shoe. We're going to be heading down the north coast first of all because we've got a nice tailwind. If we turn around, the wind is too strong, then we can always cut into Tahiti Woods and do a little loop in the woods and come back on the coast path. This is one of the most spectacular places to run in Cornwall when the sky is blue, and I love coming up here. We should get some epic views today. So gonna have a quick loosener, quick warm up, and then we are heading out for the run. The wind, it is blowing a hoolie out here, so hopefully you can hear me. So we're definitely going to be heading into the woods because it's actually a strong headwind this way, so if we want to get in there, get some shelter. The other reason is the shoe is still spotlessly clean. There's no mud up here at all. I think with the sun and the wind it's just dried it all out, so I really want to test out the level of grip from that Vibram Mega Grip light base outsole. So I'm sure we can find some mud and some tricky sections of trail in the woods, and I want to find out how much connection I've got to the trails underfoot. So let's finish up on the coast path and we're going to get into Tahiti Woods. Okay, that's a bit better. So we made it to the outskirts of the woods. We got some trees for shelter, so I can hear myself think now, and hopefully you can hear the audio better. The wind was way stronger than I thought it was going to be, so it's good to seek some shelter in Tahiti. Okay, let's talk about that Vibram midsole first, because I've never run with Vibram cushioning on a trail shoe before, and it's kind of exactly how they said it would be. It's cushioned, it's comfortable, but it still feels firm enough that it's going to give you a nice level of sort of connection when you're on technical trails. I was very happy to discover when I was putting it on by the van that it actually comes with a TPU insole, very similar to like a boomerang footbed from Innovate or those Power Run Plus insoles you get in the Exodus Ultra. So I think that really helps when it comes to cushioning. It gives you that nice little bit of bounce back as well. So yeah, midsole feels Super comfy, but nice and connected. The next test for that midsole is we're going to run it on some more technical trails, because at the end of the day, the North Cliffs is pretty flat and it's super runnable. There's nothing overly technical on it. So if you've followed the channel for a while, you'll know on some of the first impressions that when we come to Tahiti, there's a really technical ridge line that I sometimes run. It's a great testing ground for shoes because there's lots of slippery routes off camber trails. So it'll give that outsole and that midsole a thorough testing. So let's get to that ridge line. Here we are, we've made it to that ridge line. So we're going to be cutting down this trail here. And like I said, super rooted, really technical. And it really is going to be a thorough testing. Obviously, this shoe's got quite a deep midsole, so it's going to be interesting to see how it handles it. And obviously, that outsole should perform really well. I've got all confidence in that. So let's get down the ridge. Wish me luck. Awesome. It's always wicked running that ridgeline. I love it, but I'm surprised it wasn't muddy at all. The last time I came to Tahiti Woods, which was only a week or so ago, it was so wet and so muddy. But I suppose this time of the year, with a bit of sun, with a bit of wind, it still dries out pretty quick. You can see on the footage that that's a pretty technical piece of trail. So really good test for any sort of connection of a midsole and definitely any grip from an outsole. And I gotta say it, the satisfying Norda 001 handled it all really well. Great levels of grip on the loose stuff, but also great levels of grip on the sort of slippery routes, and no issues with connection at all. I felt really well planted. Like I said, even though that's quite a deep midsole, I think having that level of firmness definitely helps when it comes to that. A bit of a schoolboy error when I came out today. I grabbed the GoPro, I grabbed the spare GoPro, checked the battery, I didn't check the SD card, so I've got about, what, 10 minutes of filming left. I thought that's okay because I've got the spare GoPro, grabbed that out, and I haven't even got an SD card in it. You'd think by now, I've been doing this long enough, I'd remember to check the battery and the SD card. But we are, what, 4.5 miles in, so we're gonna start heading back to the adventure bus. So we're gonna run through and we're gonna get back on the coast path, back on the North Cliffs, and then we're gonna have probably a couple of miles back to the car. So I dare say it's gonna be just over 10K, maybe 7 miles by the time we finish, but so far so good. Grip feeling great, midsole super comfortable and really connected. So yeah, thumbs up so far. Right, well that went well for many reasons. One, we got a good 7.2 miles in our legs on a great route. So some nice flat running across the North Cliffs in obviously this glorious weather, and then cutting into Tahiti for that more technical section, popping out on the road, running across the fields, and then back onto the coast path into that strong wind again. But yeah, really nice route, really nice to be back up on the North Cliffs. Shoe felt great straight out of the box, so you know, big thumbs up there. And also, we've got 1 minute 30 seconds left on the SD card, so we made it. And last but not least, I had a bit of twinge in my calf earlier in the week. After running my longest run back since the TDS, about 11.5 miles. Felt great on the run, but the next day, believe it or not running, stepping out of the adventure bus, I got a little twinge. So I haven't run since then, done lots of massage, lots of rolling, got the old Myo pumps on, and it felt great on today's run. So no problems there at all. But before the SD card runs out, let's get changed, let's get a clean t-shirt on. We're going to get back to Run4Adventure HQ and we're going to break down the performance of this new trail shoe in a bit more detail. I don't know about you, but I think that was one of my strongest sock shoe combos ever. I think they really complemented each other. I get asked all the time on the channel, what are the socks I'm wearing? Well, I tend to wear socks from a brand called Stance. I've been a massive fan of their socks for years. The socks I was wearing today are Stance socks, and You know, one, they just make great, comfortable running socks, but two, I love the crazy, wacky designs they come up with and the bold colorways that they use. So I'll leave a link in the description for Stance Socks if you want to check them out in a bit more detail. Nowhere near as muddy out on today's run, so believe it or not, the shoe is looking pretty clean and I'm quite happy about that. Unfortunately, we didn't get to test out the traction of that outsole in muddy conditions, although I do think it's going to handle the mud pretty well with that sort of aggressive 5mm lug depth and obviously Vibram Mega Grip light base, but it did handle everything else I ran on today really well. Midsole, definitely a bit firmer than I was expecting. Didn't feel like it was sort of returning as much energy or as bouncy as I thought it would be. Very happy to find those TPU insoles in there though, and that definitely gave it a nice level of sort of plushness underfoot. But I think without them, it would be quite a firm midsole. Obviously, first run, so that Vibram midsole might just take a bit of bedding in. Obviously, that firmness really helps when it comes to running on uneven trails, and you know, I felt nice and connected. So really happy for the first run with the levels of comfort from that midsole cushioning. Outsole performed really well, so all that's really left is that Dyneema upper. Now before we ran, I said that it had a sort of gusseted tongue design in the shoe. On closer inspection, it's more like a booty construction, so you've actually got an internal sock within that upper wrapping around your foot to give you that nice sort of hold around the midfoot. The upper feels really lightweight and very breathable. The only thing I would say is it does look quite understructured, so there's not a lot going on in the back end of the shoe, no real heel cup, not a lot of substance around that ankle collar either. I was a bit worried about the thin tongue because I have had issues with them in the past, and it's funny because when it comes to those sort of unpadded tongues, sometimes I have problems and then other times I don't. I don't know why that is, but that tends to be the case. The Satisfy one felt nice and comfortable across the top of my foot, so that's always good. So in general, actually really happy with how the upper felt, and while I was running I didn't really give it a lot of thought. No rubbing, no irritation, nothing like that. The only thing I would say is I'm not sure the fit of that upper works for my foot shape. If you've followed the channel for some time now, then you'll know I haven't got the widest or deepest foot shape, and don't get me wrong, I'm not crazy super narrow either. I would say I'm somewhere in the middle, and the Norda 001 is quite sort of wide and roomy when it comes to the fit. I did have to stop a couple of times on the run and sort of re-tie down and adjust the laces to get that sort of hold round my midfoot back, and there was a few times when I was running off camber or running down a steep descent where there was definitely a bit of movement within the upper. I'm not sure whether the lack of sort of structure around the ankle and in the heel really helped, and it did look like that ankle collar was quite loose on my foot shape. There was a bit of gapping going on when I was running. Obviously this is the first run in the shoe, so it might just take a bit of adjustment, a bit of playing around with the laces. I think I'm going to try the runner's knot because we got the hole for it, although I'm not a massive fan of using that, especially on a shoe with a thin tongue, as it has caused me problems in the past. Or it could just be that the fit of the shoe isn't right for my foot, but I'm sure we'll discover which one that is over the next couple of weeks, and then we'll be back with our full in-depth review. I also forgot to mention that the shoe actually comes with this very smart recycled nylon and Dyneema shoe bag, looking pretty cool there with the Norda and Satisfy branding, although I'm sure this puts the price of the shoe up, and I'm pretty sure that most trail runners could probably do without a posh shoe bag, and you know, it's not high up the list of trail running essentials. But rounding up after my first 7.2 mile run in the Satisfy Norda 001, and without a doubt it is a really well thought through trail running shoe using some state-of-the-art materials and components. The first time I've run on a Vibram cushion midsole, and it felt nice and comfortable and really well connected, and I think the design of the outsole is brilliant. I do have a few doubts about the fit of the upper on my foot shape and the lack of structure, but I suppose the big question is do I think it's worth that €300 price tag? If I'm honest, I'm not sure any running shoe is worth that kind of money, and the running shoe world has gone crazy at the moment. I think it's awesome that the Norda brand has tried to develop a top performing shoe using bio-based fibers like Dyneema. I'm sure that's not cheap to develop or cheap to manufacture, but there's no denying it is still an expensive shoe. And I think it's quite hard to answer that question after just one run, but we'll definitely have an answer for that in our full review. So there it is, guys, our first impressions of the Satisfy Norda 001 trail running shoe. Happy to say it's still nice and clean, and I didn't get it muddy today, although I don't think it's going to look like this in a few weeks' time. But really hope you enjoyed the video, really hoped you enjoyed seeing a new brand on the channel. And you know, I'm sure there's some guys out there that have been running in the Norda 001 for a while, and I'd love to get your feedback. So how has the shoe been performing for you? Let us know all about it in the comments below. I've also left a link for Satisfy in the description, so if you want to check out what those guys are up to. What I would say is grab a chair first, because they're making some top performing, very cool looking running kit, but it is pretty pricey. But for now, guys, thanks for watching. It's always appreciated. If you did enjoy it, you know what to do. Hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Don't forget, you can also follow us on our other social media platforms, whether it be Instagram, Facebook, or Strava. We'll be back on the channel very soon. And as always, stay safe and keep on running. Oh, there it is. I thought I'd lost your GoPro. Whoops.